Welcome to episode 132 of How About the Huskies. As always, I'm your host, Connor. Joined by Matt and Andrew, and it's been a little bit. It's been about, 10, 11 days since you guys last heard from us. Maybe a little less than that. I don't have a great perception of time in this off season that's kind of dragging on. But I told you guys at the end of last episode, next time you hear from us is when the Huskies do something or something happens. Something did happen. Their second transfer of the cycle, Malachi Smith, the 6-foot Dayton point guard, comes over. He's from the Bronx. He has 1 year of eligibility. He's a guy who visited this past weekend. And if you know Dan Hurley and the staff, if you get on this campus, unless your name's Cooper Flag, there's a pretty good chance you're committing to be a UConn Husky. But yeah, Malachi, he played 4 years at Dayton, really 3, because we'll talk about his injury history, which he did miss a year due to injury. But what was your guys' overall thoughts in reaction to this? Obviously, it's something we need. We've had point guard. I feel like even though DR was awesome at times last year, point guard was definitely a spot we kind of were weak last year and struggled. Adding Silas Damari Jr., now Malachi Smith, I feel like the staff has realized that was the case, and they're really hitting the nail on the head. So, what was your guys' overall thoughts about Malachi committing?
I mean, this guard room is now stacked. We have the return of Solo Ball and Silas Demary as the two starters, but Malachi Smith coming here and basically committing to more likely than not, I'd be shocked if he gets to start. But if he's committing here to extremely likely play off the bench, that says a lot about him and his character and putting winning before his own stats. So I mean, I think that's a great sign that a guy of that caliber, one of the highly sought after guards in the transfer portal, commits here, knowing that he's going to play off the bench, where he probably could have gone somewhere else to start and make more money. But winning championships is what we do here at UConn, so that's way more important to him than making money somewhere and playing for a program that's not up to the tier that UConn is. But I just think that this guard room is the change that we need. We're going to have him off the bench in kind of the DR role before he became the starter. And I think that the biggest problem from last season, which was our guard play, is completely solved. What did we say? 1 week after the season? Yeah, exactly 1 week after the season's over. Dan Hurley has completely solved our biggest problem from last year, which is why we always say, trust Dan Hurley.
And Hurley definitely has to be salivating from the mouth after these past few weeks, being able to, like you said, shore up that guard room. After a year where you essentially had one point guard. I mean, Haz Diarra, is a fantastic player, but in the grand scheme of things, having just Haz Diarra isn't going to win you any national championships. Now you have Demary, now you have Smith. You keep Solo, you bring in all the freshman combo guards. You're looking at a really stacked room, and Smith is going into his 5th year, so he's not going to clog up that backup or starter role for a while. You give the younger guys a chance to develop. Guys like Darius Adams can come in, learn from Demary and Smith, and be ready to start his 2nd year. I think Mullins is going to benefit a lot from Solo coming back, and it's just great that he's a 5th year, and we do have that experience that we're losing with Haas and Smith.
Yeah, looking at the guys we brought in over the past couple of years that we know only have 1 year of eligibility, Cam Spencer, Joey Calcaterra. Obviously, I'm not saying Malachi Smith's going to live up to that, but we'll look into his numbers a little bit. Last year, he was the starting point guard for Dayton. He's played in 33 games, 31 starts, 10.4 points per game, 5.3 assists per game. He was their point guard. He was their floor general for a Dayton team that kind of was a little disappointing. I feel like there had much higher expectations, especially out of Maui when they beat us. I'm sure none of you guys have forgotten that. Malachi Smith he had 9 points in that game against us. He wasn't one of their leaders. They had 3 and double figures, I believe. But he let us know. I don't know if you guys remember. I know, Matt, you just brought it up, and then I had to confirm after that game. The Dayton players were very happy they defeated the reigning champion UConn and posted some TikTok, we'll call it dances. It's not really a formal TikTok dance, but this is funny. They were the 7th place champions. Malachi Smith holding the beatbox all over that. That's just funny to see that come full circle. But he's a guy, like I mentioned, the injuries in his junior season, like the off season going into his junior year, he was battling ankle injuries, but he was able to come back and healthy for opening day. And opening day, he went down 7 minutes in with a knee injury and decided he just redshirt the whole year. And so he missed that year. That's why he could play this year. But looking at him, one double-double last year at 17 and 10 early on against Ball State, 11 games at 6+ assists. For a guy that's been coming off the bench for us, I feel like that's going to be really crucial to have that playmaking. That's definitely not something we had last year off the bench. Not a lot of threes, but all in all, just a guy who knows his role on offense. He knows he can play, make, and create. I'm really excited.
This team is definitely going to be a tough out throughout the season. Just so many different points of attack here. Um, I mean, you bring back solo ball, like I mentioned before. That's a ridiculous amount of scoring. You bring in Demary, who is a scoring guard. You bring in Smith off the bench, who's going to create plays for guys like solo ball or possibly an Alex Karaban. We don't know yet, but being able to have these options where you don't have to worry about where the offense is going to come from because your starter can make the offense, can be the offense, and your backup is going to create the offense. So, like I said before, you have so much talent here. Hurley has to be super excited, especially with the freshmen. I think we're going in a positive direction.
Yeah, and just to clarify, we're recording this on the night he committed on Monday night. We don't know what Alex Karaban's doing. So say and from when this is recorded until when I post it, probably early Tuesday morning, if he makes a decision, we don't know during this podcast, so don't assume we do. I know sometimes the comments are saying we're behind on stuff because we record earlier, but yeah, I agree. I feel like this is a good point to kind of look into what we got for next year. Like you mentioned, the backcourt is really deep. Malachi Smith, Silas Demari. You have Solo Ball back. He should be getting All-American buzz. You have the freshman, Braylon Mullins, who he's probably going to be potentially a starter if you were to lose a guy like Karaban. He'd be penciled in there as of now. Darius Adams is a five-star. I feel like he's getting a little overlooked. I feel like he's just automatically penciled in as that fifth guy in the backcourt, which if you have a McDonald's All-American as the guy you have penciled in your fifth spot, he could easily be the best guard we have. We don't know. And the front court's shaping up as well. Jaden Ross. I don't think we talked since the last time he announced he's coming back, but should be a really important piece for the team. Jalen Stewart, as we already know, is back, and then the two big men, Terrace Reed and Eric Riba. So this isn't really Malachi. This is kind of us, me asking you guys, what do you think Alex Karaban does? I know we're going a little off topic from the title of this show, but curious to get your opinions that may not even matter by the time this video's out.
I would lean that he's going to come back because I just feel like he's different than all these other guys. He knows that his time as a pro is going to probably come no matter what somewhere. And I don't think making money is generally the biggest concern for him. He's kind of like a Grayson Allen type, as much as I can't stand him. He kind of puts winning and playing for the college team over the pros. And there's no shade to guys that left early, like Jordan Hawkins, Steph Castle, Donovan Clingan. Those guys were all completely ready to go to the pros. They would not have benefited with another year of college. But I think Karaban honestly could benefit from another year in college, especially last year with the ups and downs that he had and how he was kind of painted as the leader. And we mentioned that he was in a spot that he'd never been in before. So I now feel like with these new pieces coming in, I don't think he's going to be like the number one scoring option no matter what every game. So I would like to think that he comes back and finishes out his 4-year career here.
And in my honest opinion, he did not look ready to take on that leadership role that everyone kind of expected him to. He was a fantastic player, don't get me wrong, but in those first two seasons where they won the national championships, he was not that guy. He was not that give me the ball and I'll get you a bucket guy that I feel like everybody kind of expected. He's a fantastic player. He's kind of a 1B in a sense. I feel like Solo Ball or Liam McNeely even were the alphas on this previous year's team. And AK is just kind of the glue that holds the whole team together. I just think it's unreasonable to kind of throw him in that top 10 player in the country category when he's never really shown or played like he is that. I think he's great, like I've said over and over. I think he could definitely benefit from one more year, especially on a team that's going to be much deeper than this last year's team.
And like Alex Karaban, I'm torn on what I think he's going to do. It's obviously much easier decision for me to make up my mind right now than it is for him. I'm going to agree with you guys. I feel like his first 2 years are as good of a 2-year span you could have from an accolade standpoint, anyone in the country. Last year wasn't great for him personally, had that slump that's infamous at this point, and kind of left a sour taste. I feel like, sure, if he goes, he's still a two-time national champion, but I feel like a select few, not many. I know I wouldn't. I know you guys wouldn't. Would remember him just for that failure of a third year and it's really harsh to say failure because not every team can go three-peat, but I feel like that sour taste, why not come back for one more year? You already see the team around you. Yeah, I agree. It's kind of hard, rude for him to put him in that top 10 consideration going into last year just because he was the best player returning from a reigning champion team. I feel like if he comes back, it won't be the lead. He won't need to be the lead guy like we thought he was going to be last year. I feel like that's kind of been passed over to Solo. I feel like Solo's a guy that we could see average around 18 points per game, maybe even close to 20 next year. So I feel like with that pressure off his back and just the fact that we have a really damn good team coming back, I wouldn't be surprised if Karaban comes back. But also, I think he's graduating, so he has every right to go pro and he's earned it. But yeah, my gut says he'll be a Husky in 25, 26.
And remember, he committed here early, and I feel like he just belongs here. He wants to be a 4 year guy. I also think that if he puts this jersey on for a fourth year, I think his number gets put on the wall at the end of next year, no matter what. I think that, obviously you have your NBA superstars whose numbers will go on the wall eventually. But your guys like Tristan Newton, your guys like Ryan Boatwright, and your guys like Alex Karaban are the ones that really belong up there because they did more than just win championships or win games or go to the NBA. They are Huskies at heart. And I'm not saying the rest of the guys aren't, but I don't know. It's like it's hard to explain, but it's just different. And I feel like that if he comes back for a fourth year to try to win that third championship, then his number goes on the wall at the end of the season.
The very, I don't know the right way to put it, but a very quiet part of the off season is that we have not lost any coaches. You haven't heard really any buzz about Hurley, except I heard a rumor that the Nuggets wanted him, but that wasn't ever a thing. I don't know how true that was, but that was never going to happen. Hurley staying. You haven't heard anything about Kamani or Murray. I feel like the two that are most likely to go. So, I mean, bringing this whole staff back, I feel like Caravan might feel a little bit of comfort in that, knowing that he's going to come back. I mean, he's going to get paid regardless. He's going to be rich regardless. Coming back to UConn for his fourth year, and Andrew, like you mentioned, having that pedigree of a 4 year Husky who's a multiple-time national champion, going for a third in 4 years. It's hard to turn that down, especially when he would just be turning it down for a late first at the best draft pick. I mean, even going into next year, he still has a chance of becoming a solid first round pick. He just needs to, like I say, come back and be able to show that. I mean, he's a winner forever.
And what you said about the coaches, I haven't heard anything. This is not like a rumor that I'm trying to spread. This is my own personal opinion. But I think that Luke and Kamani are turning these other schools down. I really do think that they're turning these head coaching opportunities at other schools down because why would they leave the basketball capital of the world where they're already making a ton of money? I think Kamani's making just under $1 million a season and Luke Murray's somewhere around that number, if not a little less. So why would they leave to go be a head coach of a mid-major that's likely not going to make the tournament? Probably isn't going to make much noise in general. If I was in their situation, I wouldn't leave either. I've already cemented my spot in one of the greatest. This is me speaking for them, obviously. They've cemented their spot in one of the greatest college basketball franchises of all time. Why would you leave just to get the head coach title next to your name? You already are an assistant and an associate to one of the best coaches in the sport, the best. But I think that they're more concerned with winning with this team because they were all there for the visits. They took the pictures with them. They're posting about them committing. They're obviously excited. So I think they just really want to be here. And I think that speaks volumes more than teams that coaches and assistant coaches leave every 1 or 2 years.
A very overlooked part of this process is that you mentioned Dan Hurley is one of, if not the best coaches in the country. I mean, they're right below him. Who's to say if Dan Hurley decides to leave in a year or two that they're not next in line? I feel like there is a reason to stay here, knowing that any season this head coaching job at this blue blood top five program in college basketball history could just open up and you could be the first guy in line for that job. I feel like there just is this magnetic pull right now to this staff to where everybody is in a flow state and everybody, enjoys being here. And it's just a great culture and being able to, kind of have that chip on your shoulder. Like, hey, I could be the next head coach here. Let me lock in. Let me, do the best that I could do to kind of show the AD and the school that, you could be the next guy in line. So there is, some underlying factors to this. I'm not saying that any of this is true. It's just, like you said, Andrew, just kind of having this great culture within your program that you can't leave.
Yeah, I mean, look at what Creighton did with Alan Huss, who was the former head coach at High Point. He led them to their first tournament this year. They were 13, so they probably won right around 30 games. He left High Point to become the Creighton associate and the guy next in line for when Greg McDermott retires. He could have stayed at High Point and coached that mid-major program, but he chose an assistant at a high major. It just shows I mentioned that because I'm getting into my point about Luke and Kamani real quick. If this was maybe what 6 or 7 years ago, I feel like we see at least one of them go. Obviously, they'd get smaller mid-major jobs, but with how the portal is and NIL, if you're a head coach of a mid-major team and you have a player that's at least an average to slightly above average, they're not going to be there next year. They're going to go to a higher conference, a better team for more money. You're rebuilding an entire new team every year. Some guys don't want to do that. I feel like Luke Murray, Kamani, they have this established thing at UConn. Sure, they could go to a smaller, like, I don't know, A10 school, but you're going to lose your players every year. What's the fun in that? So we are a little sidetracked from Malachi Smith, but I like talking about this stuff. But I guess I'll ask you guys any last thoughts on Malachi?
Just happy to have him, honestly.
Yeah, definitely happy to have him because, like I mentioned earlier, he wants to be a Husky. He's good friends with Skylar Bell, the best player on the football team. That was definitely a part of it. But it all comes down to if you want to be here because there's definitely some dudes that maybe even were here that didn't want to be here and it shows. But even if it's for 1 year, I feel like he's going to make quite an impact.
He's going to be an impact player for sure, especially if you're bringing a player of his caliber off the bench. It creates such a, unique gameplay style for your team that it's hard to replicate.
Yeah, and he probably knows he'll be coming off the bench. He had offers from other places to be a starter. I know he visited Wake Forest. I believe he was going to be the starter at Wake Forest, but he chooses UConn to come off the bench. That's just what Dan Hurley and the Huskies do. But yeah, they'll do it here for this episode, Malachi Smith. That's all I got. Thank you guys for tuning in. Hopefully, there's more news soon about a certain Alex Karaban. We will definitely be all over that, no matter the decision. But yeah, stay tuned for that. Hopefully this week. And yeah, thanks for watching.